Late one foggy night, Lily wandered into an old abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. The villagers warned her to stay away, but her curiosity about the eerie house got the better of her. With a flashlight in hand, she pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The air was cold, and the faint smell of mildew filled her nostrils. The walls were adorned with peeling wallpaper, and the floorboards groaned under her weight. As she explored, she noticed peculiar shadows dancing on the walls, though the light from her flashlight didn't flicker. Lily dismissed the shadows as tricks of her imagination. But then, she heard faint whispers. They grew louder with every step she took, sounding like multiple voices speaking over one another. She couldn't make out the words, but they were undeniably real. Her flashlight began to flicker. Panicking, she shook it, and the beam steadied. That's when she saw them. Figures cloaked in darkness, their eyes glowing a pale white. They stood motionless, blocking the only exit. The whispers turned into ear-piercing screams. Lily tried to run, but the floorboards seemed to grab her feet, holding her in place. The shadowy figures moved closer, their shapes contorting and twisting unnaturally. Desperation took over as she screamed for help, but her voice was drowned out by the cacophony of screams around her. The last thing she saw before her flashlight died was a shadowy hand reaching for her face. When the villagers entered the mansion the next morning, all they found was Lily's flashlight lying on the floor, still warm to the touch. The villagers spoke of the mansion's cursed history. It was said that long ago, the house belonged to a reclusive family that mysteriously disappeared overnight. Rumors claimed they had dabbled in dark rituals, calling forth spirits from beyond. No one dared to investigate, as those who entered never returned. As the search party left the house, one of them swore they heard faint whispers echoing from the walls. A shiver ran down his spine, but he dismissed it as nerves. Yet, as the days passed, strange occurrences began to plague the village. Shadows moved in the corners of their eyes. Cold drafts swept through locked rooms and the whispers. Those eerie, unintelligible whispers now filled the air at night. The townsfolk grew restless. Some said Lily's spirit had been taken by the house, while others claimed she had become one of the shadows trapped for eternity. Determined to put an end to the nightmare, a group of brave souls decided to return to the mansion with holy relics and candles to banish whatever malevolent force lingered. As they entered, the air turned icy, and the oppressive silence was deafening. They called out Lily's name, but the only response was the sound of footsteps echoing upstairs. Trembling, they climbed the creaking staircase, guided by the faint sound of sobbing. When they reached the top, they found a room lit by flickering candlelight. In the center stood Lily, her back turned to them. "Lily," one of them whispered. She turned slowly, her face pale and her eyes hollow. She smiled, a chilling, unnatural smile. "You shouldn't have come here," she said in a voice that wasn't entirely her own. The candles extinguished in an instant, plunging the room into darkness. Screams filled the air, but they weren't just from the villagers. Something else, something inhuman, joined in, drowning out all other sound. When the villagers outside finally dared to enter, they found no trace of their friends. The mansion stood as it always had, silent and foreboding, as though it had swallowed its latest victims whole. From that night on, no one ever approached the mansion again. But sometimes, on quiet, foggy nights, Whispers could still be heard drifting from the house, calling for the next soul brave or foolish enough to enter. The mansion became a forbidden topic in the village, its name only spoken in hushed tones. Children dared each other to approach its gates, but never crossed them, haunted by the stories of Lily and the others who had vanished within its walls. Years passed, and the village fell into decline. Crops withered, livestock mysteriously disappeared, and the once bustling marketplace grew eerily. Some whispered that the mansion's curse had spread, its darkness creeping slowly into the lives of those who lived nearby. One stormy night, a stranger arrived in the village, dressed in a long coat and carrying an old leather-bound book. He introduced himself as Elias, a historian and investigator of the supernatural. He had heard of the mansion's dark reputation and claimed he could uncover the truth and perhaps lift the curse. Despite their fear, the villagers were desperate. They reluctantly told Elias everything they knew. Armed with their warnings, he ventured to the mansion, determined to confront whatever malevolent force resided there. As Elias entered the house, he felt the weight of the AI